I would like to, first of all, welcome all the participants to today's program. This is an international day organized mainly by the United Nations globally, and it's called the International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies. And this is celebrated every year on 7th September 2021. This is the second year for this celebration. It was introduced last year in the year 2020. So I would like to, first of all, just give a brief background to this program, and then we have a number of different speakers from the Department of Environmental Sciences, University of Peshawar, who will share their presentations and also disseminate knowledge and information to all the participants in today's program. So, first of all, as you can see on the screen, there's a saying, everyone has a right to healthy air and a healthy planet. And this is in relation to this year's theme for the International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies. We have registered this event on the United Nations website. As you can see here, in Pakistan, this is the only event which has been registered. And the Environment Society of the University of Peshawar has registered this event on the United Nations website. And you can see there are many other events organized globally as well. I would like to just briefly mention about some previous activities which the Environment Society has conducted in the past few years in relation to creating awareness for air pollution. And this has been of paramount importance that we've seen a lot of active participation from students and as well as faculty members. So in the session 2019-2020, we first of all we were invited to participate in a talk. This was organized by the Alumni Network. It was a panel discussion, and the theme was air quality in Pakistan. What are the challenges and solutions? And this was organized in the spirit of the Earth Day to increase this awareness. And we had a number of different experts as panelists on the program. You can see an image here. This was organized in the Environmental Protection Agency in Islamabad. So we have these panelists, myself, the DG, Madam Farzana. Then we had Professor Dr. Filippelli from Purdue University, who spoke about the challenges that we're facing and some of the solutions as well. And this is another image of this discussion where members in the group, they were asking questions related to the air challenges, and then we were responding to them. At the University of Peshawar, we also held an air pollution walk, and this was in December 2019. It was a massive event which the Environment Society organized. So we had students from many different departments across the campus, and interestingly, many faculty members also participated. Here is an image of that walk on air pollution, which started at the VC Chowk, and the procession marched through Road 2, leading up to the administration block, where it culminated. And there were a lot of media representatives who covered this event in the national media, and it was also published in the daily newspapers, both in English and in Urdu. Then in the session 2020-21, there was the Air Quality Awareness Week earlier this year. And I was also invited as a panelist, and this was a Facebook Live session, which was organized by the Consulate General. And we had very interesting questions I would like to mention here from the public regarding air quality. So people are taking interest now in trying to understand how air quality affects us. So the Environment Society actually celebrated this online. And now today, this year, we have a wonderful program up This is actually a webinar, and we have our respected faculty members who will be talking and giving presentations related to air pollution and air quality and how we can improve that. At the same time, we will also be talking about some ways in which you can spread the awareness for this program. So just a quick background to today's program, because this is organized by the United Nations globally, and the theme is healthy air and healthy planet. In this regard, I would just like to highlight the fact that there's a twofold problem. The first one is the health impact that air pollution has on human beings. So we have these invisible particles that penetrate deep into our lungs and bloodstream and bodies, and they're responsible for 1/3 of deaths from stroke, chronic respiratory disease, lung cancer, and so on. And the ground level ozone is one of the major contributors to that, as well as some of the other particulate matter pollutants. That's one fold. The second fold is the climate impact. So we have short-lived climate pollutants, which are among those pollutants that are linked to both health effects and the near-term warming of the planet. And therefore, from the climate change perspective, this is also an important discussion that should take place globally. So these pollutants, they actually persist in the atmosphere for a little time, but they have a greater impact on our global warming. And therefore, it's important that we prevent and reduce air pollution to improve air quality globally. Now, with these remarks, I would like to stop here with the introduction to the program. And I would like to request Dr. Saida Yusuf, please, if she can share her presentation and talk to us about air pollution, please.
Title of my talk is, can we put a price on clean air? And the answer is yes, we can. We know air pollution is a health concern for people around the world. So by improving air quality, this would bring economic as well as social benefits and better health in the sector. According to one research, this is done in Europe, in UK, this research reveals that clean air could deliver 1.6 billion pound annual boost to the economy. And the clean air could also deliver 3 million additional working days loss to staff absences and prevent almost 17,000 premature deaths among workers each year. So these findings provide a good incentive for the national policies to put clean air at the heart of these policies. According to WHO, there is about 4.2 million premature deaths linked globally. This is linked to ambient air pollution. The studies also says that the poor air quality contributes towards 19% of all cardiovascular deaths and 29% of all lung cancer deaths. These health impacts increase cost to public health services and also a substantial economic cost. एक तो economy इस तरीके से disturb होगी because of the poor health कि जो workers होंगे उनकी छुट्टी आएगी, ठीक है, lost आएगा work से, poor workers means poor economy, poor productivity, साथ साथ उनका जो health impact आएगा, जो खर्चा उनके अपने health पे आएगा, वो भी economy पे एक burden होगा. So the World Bank estimate that air pollution alone cost the global economy $225 billion in the form of lost labor income. ये एक particular year का estimate था. And the impact of COVID-19 lockdown is also on air quality. Cities around the world will be news stories. We came across such kinds of news in our newspaper and some other material. Acha. Economists, they have tried to accurately determine the value of environmental goods to society. Environment जो है हमें different kinds के goods and services provide कर रहे हैं. Or economists, they're actually trying hard to determine the value of these environmental goods and services to the society in the form of money. And this effort has led to several valuation techniques. One is contingent valuation method. Broadly, we can say it as stated preference method. And the contingent valuation method is one of the stated preference method. It simply asks people or individuals directly about their values for a particular environmental good. कि भाई आप कितना वैल्यू दे रहे हैं इस environmental good को जो आप एक्सपीरियंस कर रहे हैं और इन द नियर फ्यूचर यू कैन एक्सपीरियंस. या हम एक ऐसी चीजों के बारे में भी पूछ सकते हैं जैसे वाइल्डनेस एरिया हो गया, कहीं पे वाइल्डनेस एरिया एग्जिस्ट करता है, वी कैन आस्क द वैल्यूज ऑफ दोस रिसोर्स इन द फॉर्म ऑफ एग्जिस्टेंस वैल्यू. सिमिलरली अगर हम वी कैन also ask the respondents what they would place value on increase air visibility in the mountain. अगर एयर विजिबिलिटी इंक्रीज हो, क्लियर हो, तो आप कितनी वैल्यू उसको देंगे. ठीक है. और इसके अलावा जो कंटिन्यूड वैल्यूएशन मेथड है, इट कैन आल्सो बी यूज्ड टू डिटरमाइन द वैल्यू ऑफ ओल्ड ग्रोथ फॉरेस्ट प्रिजर्वेशन इन द फेस ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल एक्सपेंशन. इंडस्ट्रियल एक्सपेंशन हो रही है, हमारे पास कोई ओल्ड फॉरेस्ट है, उसकी प्रिजर्वेशन की कितनी वैल्यू होगी इन द फेस ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल expansion. Contingent valuation method also help to find the value of those old forest. Then another method is revealed preference method. It also involves determining the value that consumer hold for an environmental good. कैसे? By observing their purchase of the goods in the market. For example, हम परचेज कर रहे हैं एयर फ्रेशनर, नॉइज रिड्यूसिंग मटेरियल या वाटर प्यूरिफिकेशन सिस्टम. दिस हमारा ये जो परचेज है, दिस रिवील्स द मिनिमम अमाउंट इंडिविजुअल्स वुड बी विलिंग टू पे फॉर इम्प्रूव्ड एयर एंड वाटर क्वालिटी. Revealed preference method is also called household production approach. Economists जो हैं, they can use revealed preference method to determine the value of clean air and clean water through differences in home prices. जैसे कोई between pristine and polluted areas. इस मेथड को हम hedonic price method भी कहते हैं. अच्छा, in addition to these two methods, कुछ हमारे पास टैक्सेस होते हैं, रोड प्राइसिंग होती हैं, कार्बन प्राइसिंग होती हैं. These are also policy options to tackle the climate change and urban air pollution. जो concept of pricing था, this undesirable effect, this is very simple and sensible. Let's suppose कि अगर मार्केट प्राइस जो है रिफ्लेक्ट करती है उन तमाम इकोनॉमिक डैमेजेस को जो इन एमिशंस की वजह से हो रही हैं, देन द मार्केट फोर्स विल वर्क फॉर आवर प्लैनेट एंड हेल्प टू प्रोटेक्ट इट. लेकिन ऐसा नहीं हो रहा. सो देयर इज अ नीड ऑफ internalizing external cost. This is one of the method to reflect the total impact of our actions, चाहे वो air pollution हो, water pollution हो. But how do we know what the correct price is? Correct price हम कैसे calculate करेंगे? The price should reflect, the correct price should reflect the social value of reducing emission and incorporate the benefit of better air quality. हमें इसका जो एक्सटर्नल कॉस्ट है वो भी इसमें ऐड करना है. ओके, फर्स्ट I want to draw your attention to the difference between value and price. Price क्या है? Price is what we pay. Value क्या है? Value is what we get. When environmental economists put a monetary value on clean air, we focus on value and not on price. Because there is no market for clean air, there is no price, but still there is a value. And economic valuation helps us to determine how much clean air is worth and how we can value it. It is not about putting a price tag on clean air, nor about creating a market where the person who pays can do whatever he or she wants with our environment. No, but the main reason for valuing clean air is to determine the best option and policies to optimize the use and management of natural resources. Because as economists, they like to say that it maximizes social welfare. We want to maximize the social welfare. If we want polluters to pay, then we need to determine what damages they cause and what the value is of protecting our environment from pollution. We are the managers, not the owners of nature. We as an individuals, we are the managers, not owners of the natural resources. And the economic valuation of nature and environment, they goes beyond money. It should reflect the importance of nature for human well-being and welfare and well-being. because we know environment is providing us different kinds of goods and services. There are many services like regulatory services, like provisionally services, like different biodiversity and regulatory services. These are the services provided by the environment. So the total economic value of the natural resources is defined as this is a sum of the values of all the services flows generated by the natural capital now and in the future. The main thing is not only for the now but also for the future generation. This means it includes the benefits we get from the environment. The benefits could be food, recreation, or cleaner air, as well as the values which are related to our responsibility to maintain and protect natural resources. The reasoning here is that nature is important in itself, and not only because we can use it, because the concept of total economic value includes the value of the environment for future generations and takes into account that we are the manager rather than the owner of the natural resources. So we measure the value, but we measure the value in monetary terms. Why? Because it allows us to compare the benefits of various goods and services in policy options. And people are familiar with the money as a unit of measuring unit. So it can help the policymaker to express the relative preferences. हम वो resources जिनके market है और वो resources जिनके market नहीं है, with the help of money value we can compare. हम वो preferences को, intensity को, magnitude को compare कर सकते हैं, and we can compare the difference between economic development and environmental protection in terms of monetary values. So I think we all agree that clean air is valuable, not only for ourselves, but also for our family, friends, future generation, for the plants, animals, for the whole planet. And one important benefit of clean air is that it improves health. So it shows that if the air is improved, then the values of property values, जो changes आती हैं property values में, जिसको हम hedonic price method से कैलकुलेट करते हैं. लेट्स सपोज एक स्टडी हुई है इन यूएस कि अगर सल्फेशन लेवल इतना इंक्रीज होगा या पार्टिकुलेट मैटर में इतना इंक्रीज आएगा, तो बिकॉज ऑफ दैट इंक्रीज एयर पोल्यूशन इंक्रीज की वजह से जो प्रॉपर्टी वैल्यूज है उसकी प्राइस में इतना जो है फॉल डाउन आएगा. दीज ऑल आर मेथड्स फॉर वैल्यूइंग द एयर को मनी करने के लिए ये एक ऑप्शन है, मेथड है. और हमारे पास जो है although this is a very challenging, valuing the clean air is challenging because हमें यहाँ पे जो हम डिटरमाइन करेंगे वो ऑप्टिमल प्राइस लेवल डिटरमाइन करेंगे फॉर डिफरेंट पोल्यूटिंग एक्टिविटीज, we subsidizing for mitigation, other policy measures. So it is a challenging, but we can do it. That is all about. Thank you so much. Over to sir.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you very much, Madam Saida, for your talk on highlighting the importance of the economic value of air. And you also highlighted the fact that this is a challenge, and we need to take this challenge and therefore try to improve our air quality through the implementation of the regulation and law, and at the same time, the enforcement, which is also required. And I also understand that there is also a huge economic cost related to the diseases, which I mentioned earlier, that are caused due to air pollution. And that's a huge economic burden on the Pakistan population as well. So thank you once again for your talk. And now in the next session, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Hizbullah Khan Sahab to kindly share his thoughts regarding to today's event and on air pollution. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asif, for inviting me to this talk, which is about the clean air of blue skies. Dr. Saida has highlighted the economic effect of the air pollution. I will rather describe how, in historical purview, the air pollution has started and how it is affecting the human life. Uh, a community may run short of food, it may run short of fresh water, but we cannot run out of air given in the size of the Earth atmosphere. Means that we can survive without food for, say, for example, for a week, we can survive without water for 2 to 3 days, but we cannot survive without air for even few seconds. So this shows the importance of clean air for the living organisms and for the humanity. If we look at the history of the air pollution, it is not a new phenomenon. It is a very old phenomenon. And it started from the very first day when men learned how to lit fire. So this shows that the air pollution is a related phenomena with the fire burning process. Now it depends on the intensity of the fuel, which type of the fuel we are burning. Like for example, if we burn wood, perhaps it will not emit as that much of the pollutant if we burn diesel or petrol or furnace oil. So the chemistry, it is very simple. We cannot generate an engine, an industry which have zero pollution emission. This is not possible. Like for example, historically speaking, we first started running the vehicles with coal. The coal burning vehicles, they were the in previous days. We were using these vehicles. Then we shipped to diesel and then petrol. And nowadays, then a few decades back, we shifted to the CNG. But now, hybrid and other electrical vehicles, they are introduced nowadays. If you just look to this, that if we burn coal, which type of the pollutants we will be receiving? In all, when we burn fire, there will be the emission of 5 major types of the air pollutants. That is oxides of nitrogen, oxides of sulfur, oxides of carbon, hydrocarbons, and particulate matter. So in all, these are the 5 major air pollutants. The rest, they start different other problems. But why we shifted from coal to diesel? Because coal burning process, it contain a large number of carbon chain. And if we break that carbon chain, it produces some heat energy. And that heat energy is responsible for the production of these 5 different types of the pollutants. Because if we look at the chemistry of these air pollutants, all of them, they are temperature dependent. Thermodynamically, they are possible reaction. And what are thermodynamically possible reaction? They are those reactions whose rate increases with the temperature, increase in temperature. So coal produces enormous temperature. Then after that is diesel, after that is petrol, and at the end we have the CNG. So if we look at the carbon chain, diesel, it contains almost up to 30 carbon chain. If we look at the petrol, it contains only 8 carbon chain. And if we look at the CNG, it contains only 1 carbon. So in a similar fashion, the heat energy inside the engine will also be reduced. So this does not mean that when we burn CNG in vehicles, it will not produce pollutant. It will produce pollutant, but not at the extent at which we were getting that from coal or diesel or petrol. Then the word changes toward the hybrid engines, electrical cars. The question is, for such type of the cars, where we will generate electricity, where we will produce electricity. So we have shifted from the mobilized form of the air pollution to a static part. That is a power generating plant where we will producing that electricity. And normally nowadays the power generating plants are either they are run with coal or diesel or furnace oil. So this is a static source of the air pollution. Again, we will be getting these 5 major air pollutants in larger quantities. So we cannot stop this. But the good thing is that research is continuous, it is going on, how to curtail, how to mitigate, how to control the emission of these air pollutants. If we look at the back history, like in 40s and 50s, there were frequent events, notorious events of the air pollution problems. Like for example, the famous is the London smog. Similarly, the photochemical smog or Los Angeles smog. But nowadays, we are not getting these events. What is the reason? Because the population of the world has increased. People, they are using these fossil fuel in so many activities besides the automobile industry. But still, we are not getting, or we are not receiving those dangerous events in the world. And this is because that certain control measures they have been adopted for the industries as well as in the vehicles, and these are the catalytic converters. Now these catalytic converters, they convert these 5 toxic air pollutants into environment friendly gases. Mostly the ultimate result of these when these 5 major air pollutants, when they pass through a catalytic converter. So at the end of the pipe, we will be receiving nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and water vapors. And all these, they are environment friendly. And what we will remove during this process, we will remove oxides of nitrogen, we will remove oxides of sulfur, we will remove oxides of carbon, similarly hydrocarbons and particulate matter. So that's why there are no common events of the industrial smog formation or the photochemical smog formation. So if we look at the effects of these air pollutants, we categorize these air pollutants, the effects, in 3 categories: the localized effect, the regional effect, and the global effect. Now, localized effect, we are observing these effects locally. Like, for example, in winter, we observe some events of the smog formation in some cities of the Punjab, but the same are not repeated in Peshawar or any other city. So this shows that this smog formation, basically, it is a localized effect of the air pollutant. Similarly, we do have some regional effects, and regional effects include the acid rain formation. That is normally one country is producing air pollutant and the other country is receiving the acid rain from it. So this we call the regional effect, and the third category is the global effect. Now the global effect include global warming, ozone layer depletion, etc. So because their effect that is on global scale, if we have an ozone hole in the stratosphere, so their effect will be observed globally. Similarly, the global warming effect, its effect, it is visible throughout the world. And finally, ultimately, because of the global warming, we are observing climate change. Now, the climate change, it is affecting everything. It has affected our weather system. It has affected the human life. It has affected our weather system. And because of this climate change, we are observing a depletion in the productivity of certain crops. We are observing an increase in certain diseases. We are observing the drought effects. We are observing floods. So these are all the combined effects of the global warming. Now, how we can control the climate change condition? Like, for example, the global warming, obviously, the main culprit we consider as carbon dioxide. Of course, carbon dioxide is because it is produced in very larger amount and its concentration has increased 400 ppm recently. So this is, but beside this, we have methane gas, which is another culprit. And the global warming index of methane is much higher than that of the carbon dioxide. I mean the global warming intensity of this gas. Similarly, we have ozone gas, we have nitrous oxide gas, we have CFCs, etc. All these, they are the global warming gases. But we just look at it, there are three processes through which we can mitigate these the effects of these air pollution problem. Like, for example, the first one, that is the counteracting effect. So counteracting effect, this was an idea of the scientists throughout the world, but this failed because we cannot act against the nature. Like, for example, in photochemical smog, we have three constituents. In chemically speaking, we have three reactants. One is oxides of nitrogen, the second one is hydrocarbon, and the third one is the solar energy, sunlight. So we cannot control, we cannot stop sunlight, we cannot counteract against the sunlight, but we can focus on the emission of oxides of nitrogen and the emission of hydrocarbons. Similarly, to control global warming, there was an idea to spread some particles that are, of course, they are shiny particles like sulfur powder. If we, the scientists, they thought that if we spray those particles in the upper atmosphere, so they will increase the albedo and will reflect most of the solar radiation back into the upper atmosphere. But they do not consider that it can cause acid rain in the form of sulfuric acid. So this was also failed. This was another counteracting phenomenon. Another was that if we spread 1 square meter mirror in the upper atmosphere, if we suspend those mirror in the upper atmosphere, it will reflect the solar radiation back into the upper atmosphere. But they don't consider that these mirror, they are considered as potential bombs for the commercial air flights, the rockets, satellites, etc. So this cannot work. And the final solution to the climate change was adaptation. That if we adopt ourselves to such an environment, such a condition, where we can minimize the emission of pollutant. Like for example, previously the scientists, normally they conceived an idea, they give that idea to the engineers in the industry, and they convert that idea into a useful product. And this we call two-way interaction. Later on, the scientists realized after the 60s that we have ignored one major component, and that is the environment. While devising an idea, if we consider environment at the end of the final preparation of the product, we can conserve our environment. And this we call three-way interaction, and this is basically sustainable development. While processing an idea into a final product, if we consider environment or the effects of the environment during the manufacture of a product, so through this we can conserve an environment, and this is basically the life cycle assessment. With this, I have talked too much, and I think this is sufficient, and thank you very much.
Yes, so thank you very much, Professor Dr. Hizbullah Khan Saab, for your talk. And I'd just like to turn my camera on. Yes, so thank you very much once again. And you have actually talked about some very important perspectives of linking air quality with the global warming and climate change. And we have these small or short-lived air pollutants which contribute to the climate effect. And also thank you for highlighting the important point of reducing the air pollutants with the help of new technologies, some of which you highlighted in your talk. You also talked about some of the levels of pollution which can take place locally, regionally, and globally. And we see, for example, a regional cooperation in this regard, where we have regional cooperation for South Asian countries, where we have been interacting to find ways in which we can reduce the air pollution in this region. You also talked about the geoengineering techniques, and that's very rightly pointed out that instead of wasting our money and resources in such an area which cannot prove highly beneficial in terms of the alternative methods that we have, such as the renewable energy resources and how to promote them, then that's a better approach. And we have a lot of innovations in renewable technologies taking place globally as we speak. So thank you once again. Now in the next session, I would like to invite Dr. Shahla Nazneen to share her presentation and give us a talk about some of the policies and regulations that are important for regulating air pollution in Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Asif, and Assalamu alaikum to everyone. A very important topic on which this webinar is taking place, and please excuse me for my hoarse voice. Air pollution and environmental laws in Pakistan. Air quality of the Pakistan in major urban centers is considerably deteriorating over the past few decades. Pakistan has a very strong air pollution rules and regulation, but on paper, with a comprehensive set of ambient air quality and emission standards, but monitoring and enforcement remains deficient. So definitely there is a deficiency. We have very comprehensive rules and laws and even national environmental quality standards that are dealing with the air pollution in Pakistan. We have environmental laws, air quality regulatory framework. This is basically the structure, administrative structure, which is dealing, but somehow it is now changed because now we have Pakistan Environmental Protection Council in each and every province, and under that council we have EPAs, which are now equally powerful as once they were when we are under the Pakistan Environmental Protection Act 1997. We have provincial government. Under the provincial government, we have provincial departments, district government, tehsil government, union councils. We have provincial environmental protection departments. We have provincial EPAs in all the provinces. We have Pakistan Environmental Protection laws. We have Pakistan Environmental Protection Act 1997. We have Azad Kashmir Environmental Protection Act. We have Punjab Environmental Protection Act. We have Balochistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Sindh, and even Gilgit-Baltistan Environmental Protection Act. Section 2 of almost all the laws deals with the definitions, in which you will find the definition of various terms such as air pollutants, which they have defined as any substance that causes pollution of air and includes soot, smoke, dust particles, odor, light, electromagnetic radiation, heat, fumes, combustion, exhaust. So basically, air pollution is not only about the emissions, but many other things that are being added to the atmosphere. Emission means the extent of pollutants discharged per unit time, or the extent of pollutant per unit volume of gas, liquid, or vapor emitted. Environment is defined as air, water, and land, and all layers of the atmosphere. Pollution is defined in section 2, which means the contamination of air, land, or water by the discharge of emission of effluents or waste or air pollutants or noise, which are basically present in any chemical, physical, or which may alter the chemical, physical, biological, radiational, thermal, or radiological or static properties of the air, land, or water, and all these things. This is basically the definition of pollution that is mentioned in section 2 of all the acts. Then we have section 11, which states that no person is allowed to omit or allowed the discharge or emissions of any effluents or waste or air pollutant or noise. So section 11 and section 10 of Gilgit-Baltistan basically prohibit us that we cannot emit any of the air pollutants, which is defined that what type of air pollutants in section 2, that we cannot emit all the things that are mentioned in section 2 in the definition of air pollutant, which are in concentration or level in excess of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa environmental quality standards or Pakistan environmental quality standards or Punjab environmental quality standards, or in whichever province you are living. But at the moment, we are having only Pakistan environmental protection, Pakistan environmental quality standards, and all the provinces are basically obeying the quality standards of Pakistan. Then we have the regulation of motor vehicles, as there are two major types of air pollution, we have from the industries and from the vehicles. So section 16 of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Act, it prohibits us that no person shall operate a motor vehicle from which the air pollutant or noise are being emitted in an amount that is in excess of the quality standards. We have penalties on these sections, that if any person is emitting air pollutants into the atmosphere, so according to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa 2014 and Federal Act 1997, you can see that we have the penalties. The minimum penalty is mentioned is in Sindh, that is 1 million, and federal is 1 million, Balochistan 1 million, Gilgit-Baltistan 1 million, Azad Jammu and Kashmir 1 million, but in Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, it is up to 5 million. Similarly, regulation of motor vehicle, and these the cases of prohibition of certain discharges or emissions are basically heard by the Pakistan Environmental Protection Tribunal. We have tribunals in all the provinces, and the section 11 cases are heard by the Pakistan Environmental Protection Tribunal. Then we have the regulation of motor vehicles, that if you are operating any vehicle that is causing air pollutant or noise in excess of the quality standards, you may be fined up to 1 lakh per day in almost all the laws. And these are the section numbers that are basically dealing with the regulation of motor vehicles. And in law, the regulation of motor vehicle cases are basically dealt by the environmental magistrates. Then we have Pakistan EPA rules on air pollution. We have national environmental quality standards for ambient air. We have for motor vehicle exhaust. We have pollution charge for industry rules. We have national environmental quality standards, self-monitoring and reporting by the industries rule. We have national environmental quality standards for industrial and gaseous emissions. Beside this, we have other laws like Pakistan Penal Code 1860, Section 278. It also deals with making atmosphere noxious to health. It states that whoever voluntarily vitiates the atmosphere in any place so as to make it noxious to the health of a person in general dwelling or carrying on business in the neighborhood or passing along a public way shall be punished with a fine. So this is the other laws beside the environmental laws, which also states the same thing, that if you are making atmosphere noxious to the health of any person, you may be punished with a fine. But there is another section which I would like to say, that is section 26 of most of the laws, that is act to override other laws. Like if you have your own environmental laws, so we will first look at that what the penalty they are imposing, because in Pakistan Penal Code 1860 section 278, the as it was made in 19 is quite an old law. So at that time the penalty was only 1500 rupees. Then we have Provincial Motor Vehicle Ordinance 1969, Section 155. It basically states that any motor vehicle shall be so constructed or equipped that the exhaust gas from the engine are not discharged downwards so as to impinges on the road surfaces. And 163 states that emission of smoke vapors of grease, that no such vehicle shall be so constructed that it may cause any smoke or visible vapors which might cause damage or annoyance to the persons and properties. So we have other laws also beside environmental laws that are dealing with the air pollution. Beside this, we have Environmental Protection Policy 2005. There is a separate full section, air quality and noise, that is dealing with there should be guidelines and at how to deal with the air pollution and noise. So in which they have mentioned that there must be monitoring stations which must be regularly monitoring all the gases that are being released into the atmosphere, and this much this much air pollutant stations, air pollutant monitors should be installed in Pakistan. So this is all about the laws that are that we have in Pakistan. Though it's a brief discussion, a brief presentation, but there are many other things. But majorly, we are dealing the air pollution under these laws. Thank you, Dr. Asif.
Yes, wonderful. So thank you very much, Dr. Shaila, for taking out the time despite being not well today, and giving a presentation and talking about an important aspect of environmental pollution, particularly the laws and the regulations that are actually required to control pollution in Pakistan. So you provided a comprehensive overview of these laws, and hopefully we should have governmental mechanisms where enforcement of these laws can hopefully be done much more effectively in order to reduce air pollution. And the whole idea, the whole aim of that is to have reduced impacts, health impacts on human beings. So thank you once again. Now I would like to invite the chairman of our Department of Environmental Sciences, and this is the last talk in today's session. So Professor Dr. Muhammad Nafis Saab, I would request you to please share your presentation or give a talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Asif. I will talk briefly क्योंकि ये जो Dr. Saida था, she discussed the economic aspects. Professor Dr. Isbullah discussed the technical aspects. Dr. Shaila Nazneen discussed the legal aspects of the air pollution. I will just add a few, I will take few minutes, not more than 5 or 10 minutes, just to share that we are always talking about trees. So we must know how many trees are required even, and Pakistan can meet this requirement or not. So if you look into this chart and if you search it on the internet, you will come across the number of trees of different countries. This is what UK is the lowest, which is 47, and Canada it is 10,163 per person. The highest number of trees it is in the Canada. If we look into the Pakistan, तो पाकिस्तान में हमारे पास जो इंटरनेशनल डेटा अवेलेबल है ऑन द इंटरनेट, इट इज़ 4.5, 4.5 ट्रीज पर पर्सन हमारे पास अवेलेबल है. अब ये थोड़ी सी कैलकुलेशन हमने की थी दो हिसाबों से. एक हिसाब ये है कि हम ऑक्सीजन को काउंट करें कि हमें कितने ऑक्सीजन चाहिए. तो उस हिसाब से हमने जब कैलकुलेशन की तो हमें तकरीबन 4 दरख्त चाहिए एक बंदे के लिए पूरे साल की उसको ऑक्सीजन प्रोवाइड करने के लिए. जबकि हमारे पास अगर आप ये दूसरा देख लें तो हमारे पास 4.5 ट्रीज है, तो हार्डली मीटिंग द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ द ऑक्सीजन रिक्वायर्ड फॉर पर पर्सन. इसी तरह दूसरी कैलकुलेशन हमने ऑक्सीजन के हिसाब से किया था. तो हमें अगर एक गाड़ी हम रोज़ाना एवरेज 5 लीटर डीजल खर्च करें तो उस 5 लीटर डीजल के लिए जितना ऑक्सीजन चाहिए तो उसके लिए 30 दरख्त चाहिए. 30 नंबर ऑफ ट्रीज आर रिक्वायर्ड फॉर ईच व्हीकल. तो ये अगर हम एक बंदे के पास गाड़ी है और खुद भी है तो उसको ये तकरीबन कोई 34 ट्रीज आर रिक्वायर्ड फॉर द व्हीकल ओनर, और जो अगर व्हीकल नहीं है तो फिर उसके लिए 4 ट्रीज रिक्वायर्ड. फिर हम दूसरा हिसाब कर रहे थे कि हम ऑक्सीजन कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड जो प्रोड्यूस होता है तो उस हिसाब से अगर हम हिसाब किताब लगा लें तो ये हो 30, अगर हम इक्वेशन को देखें ऑक्सीजन और कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड की तो 32. लेकिन मेरा जो मकसद था वो ये था कि हम हमेशा दरख्तों के बारे में ऑलवेज टॉक अबाउट द नंबर ऑफ ट्रीज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर दिस हेल्दी एनवायरनमेंट. तो ये हम कर रहे थे. पाकिस्तान में जो इंटरनेशनली डेटा अवेलेबल है उस हिसाब से हमारे पास पर पर्सन वी हैव 5 ट्रीज पर पर्सन. और उस हिसाब से हमें जो हमने 2 तरह की कैलकुलेशन की थी, एक ऑक्सीजन के लिहाज से कि कितना ऑक्सीजन चाहिए और एक कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड के लिहाज से कि कितना कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड जो है वो प्रोड्यूस होता है. तो इन दोनों को हमने जब देख लिया तो ऑक्सीजन के लिहाज से हमें वी नीड 5 ट्रीज पर पर्सन. ये जी 5 ट्रीज जो है वो हमें चाहिए. लेकिन जब हमने कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड तो जब हमने गाड़ी के देखा तो अगर हम रोजाना एक गाड़ी 5 लीटर पर डीजल चलाते हैं तो उसको ऑक्सीजन के लिहाज से रिक्वायरमेंट के लिहाज से 30 दरख्त चाहिए. और अगर कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड के लिहाज से कर लें तो हमें ये है डीजल गाड़ी के लिहाज से 223 ट्रीज चाहिए. अब इसमें यह है कि whenever we are talking about the environment or air pollution for green and healthy environment, the tree plantation. तो ट्री प्लांटेशन इज नॉट द अल्टीमेट सोल्यूशन. मेरे जो कहने का मकसद है वो यही है कि ट्री प्लांटेशन जो है वो अल्टीमेट सोल्यूशन नहीं है, क्योंकि एयर पोल्यूशन सिर्फ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड की वजह से नहीं हो रहा. ये इसमें ऑक्साइड ऑफ सल्फर भी शामिल है, ऑक्साइड ऑफ नाइट्रोजन भी शामिल है, कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड भी है. तो उसके लिए उसका हल नहीं है. रखें, ट्रीज जो हैं वो रख लें। ट्रीज से क्या होगा कि एनवायरमेंट, ग्रीनरी, ये सब कुछ भी रिक्वायर्ड है, लेकिन ये एयर पोल्यूशन को कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकता। आज का वो है कि वी नीड अदर टेक्नोलॉजी आल्सो टू टेक केयर ऑफ द एनवायरमेंट। सिर्फ दरख्तों से जो है वो काम नहीं चल सकेगा। So this is what is all about from my side, and thank you very much.
Yes, so thank you very much, Professor Dr. Muhammad Nafis Sahab, for your presentation. And that's a very important point that you have highlighted, that plantation alone cannot solve our major global problems, which also includes the global problem of air pollution. Even though you highlight the importance of plants, they are considered trees, forests, they are considered as carbon sinks, so they absorb carbon dioxide and they release oxygen. But at the same time, on one hand, if we are doing plantations, on the other hand, globally, we are also carrying out deforestation. Lands in the Amazon rainforest, for example, they've been cut down as large as football grounds every few minutes. And therefore, we need to really rethink about this deforestation problem. But I really appreciate your point of view where you are highlighting the fact that the other types of air pollutants, they need to be controlled. And in that perspective, I think there's a very important area which can be explored, and that is the area of the technology transfer, where we need to encourage the developed countries to ensure the technology transfer so that we can have technologies installed in our industries, in our power plants, which can reduce the air pollutants, different types of them, both gaseous and the particulate matter, at the source. And therefore, that will have a huge impact both on the local air pollution, the regional air pollution, as well as its contribution to the global air pollution. And let me also highlight at the end the importance of controlling the ozone pollution, which is present at the lower troposphere. So as you all know, the ozone which is in the stratosphere, the ozonosphere, that is highly beneficial to us, whereas the ozone which is created at the lower atmosphere, which is the troposphere, that is highly detrimental, it's not beneficial, it has huge impacts on animals and plants, and therefore we need to find ways in which we can control all these different types of pollutions and the air pollutants in particular. So we have actually used more time than the allocated time, and therefore I would strongly suggest to all the participants that if they have any questions, they may please write their questions in the chat box, and we will endeavor to answer all those questions later on after the program. So if you have any questions, please feel free. We have a couple of comments in the chat box, but if you have any questions, please feel free to write them down in the chat box, and we will certainly respond and try to answer those questions. We also have some external members and participants from outside the academia, from the University of Peshawar, from outside the University of Peshawar, and we are very thankful for all the participants, and a huge thanks to all the speakers, the panelists, Professor Dr. Muhammad Nafis, Professor Dr. Hizbullah Khan, Dr. Sayyid Yusuf, Dr. Shaila Nazneen, for giving detailed and insights into the different areas of air pollution and air quality. So thank you once again to all the speakers, and thank you once again to all the participants who actively listened and heard our speakers. And if you have any questions, as I said earlier, please write them down, and I will ensure that all answers are given after the program. So thank you very much once again for joining us in today's webinar organized by the University of Peshawar's Environment Society.